gonna fight for Iowa. Let every loyal Iowan see.
Hello and welcome to Sports Opinion, the weekly sports talk show on Channel 18. My name's Dirk Keller, and we've got a special guest here today. Phil Haddy, longtime sports information director for the Iowa Athletic Department, has joined us. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you.
And welcome here to Bud Supple and Earl the Pearl Murphy.
Yes.
Before we get going, I want to say thank you to John Murphy. I was sick last week, and he filled in very admirably. You guys did a great show.
Mm-hmm.
That was
we
excellent.
had a good show.
Yeah.
John really had things down.
Yeah, he does his homework.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it was
Ratings
really good.
skyrocketed, huh?
Yeah, the ratings are. We doubled from 10 to 20 people. And congratulations to your wife, Elaine. Had a nice story in the Press Citizen last week, was it?
Yeah, we're just trying to figure out who's doing what around the house right now. She's after 48 years retired, and
That's great.
Has she?
yeah, she did. And it's one of those things. I just told her, well done. You know, she's had 48 years at the U, and between the two of us, 90 years.
Man, that's a long time.
That's a university. Has been very good to the Haddy family.
Well, and the Haddies have been very good to the University of Iowa as well. I just have to laugh, though. I'm thinking, okay, you've been retired for a couple years now, right?
Right.
And you had the house to yourself during the day.
I was busy running errands all day for her.
Now, all of a sudden, you've got company all day.
Yeah, I'll run into her every now and then.
Well, congratulations, Elaine. That's just great. We're real happy for you. We're happy for the...
What did she do for the university?
Yeah.
She was in HR. She was one of the first people at the University of Iowa to ever use a computer.
Oh, really?
And she's all of this online systems that people, do with their pay
Yeah.
and everything right now. She was instrumental in setting all that up
Wow.
with university HR, and she's been in payroll, HR, and she started as a file clerk and just worked her way up.
48 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was doing pretty good, and she trumped me by 6 years.
Isn't that something? And also, before we forget, longtime friend of ours, Mike Naughton, who used to be the ticket manager for the University of Iowa, has been with the St. Louis Rams for, 15 years. Well, ever since they came back to St. Louis.
I was going to say 25 years maybe.
Yeah. Mike's wife died
Oh, no.
this week. Mike's wife, Michelle, died in her sleep. She had lupus, and she'd been sick for a long time, but it still wasn't expected. She was living in Key West, Florida, because of her health. She couldn't stay in the cold weather with the lupus, and Mike had gone down there Thanksgiving week and spent the week with her, and lo and behold, yeah, she died in her sleep. And
While he was down there?
no, after he'd come back to St. Louis.
That is
It's really sad.
tragedy.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people that watch the show remember Mike Naughton, so we
Sure.
wanted to give our
You
best
had to
thoughts to
be-
him.
What, about 50, if
About
that?
50, if that.
I
About
say
50.
that's about right.
Yeah. So, I just found out about that yesterday, and I wanted to mention that to our viewers and friends. We want to congratulate the Iowa Hawkeye football team. They got a bowl game in Florida, a January bowl game in
I
Florida.
think they're the luckiest team in the world.
It's a real good point, Murph.
They got a beautiful day to play on the 2nd of January.
Yep, it's a Friday.
Oh,
The game is at 2 o'clock.
2:30 or
2:30, yep, 2:30 on, well, technically 2:20 p.m. on ESPN. So they've got a worldwide network.
oh, it's ESPN.
Uh-huh, yep. They are going to face a Tennessee Volunteer team that is 6-6.
Hey, good team.
Yeah, and they're a hot team. They
Wow.
they won
We'll
3 out of their
throw 'em
last
off.
4 games. They brought in a third-string quarterback late in the season to replace their senior starter,
Who are the
and he
4
turned it
teams?
around. I don't know.
I'd like to know that because they keep talking about winning those last 4.
Yeah,
They won 3 out of the last 4, and and they weren't Alabama or Mississippi, but they were decent teams. They're actually favored in that game by
Yeah.
3.5
3.5.
points.
They played Vanderbilt, people like that.
Well, I know they played Arkansas in one of those games. I just don't have it here. I've got a whole bunch
Well,
of
they
information.
beat South Carolina.
Yeah.
And Steve Spurrier, I know that.
Yep, that was not expected. They haven't been to a bowl game since 2010, so this is a hungry team. And as I said, they finished 6-6, and their new coach, Butch Jones, is that right?
Correct.
Butch Jones just got a big contract extension, a raise, and
No, he was the one at Cincinnati at one time.
He might have been, but he's also been talked about as far as this new Michigan job
oh really?
that's opened up, and I think that's why he got a new contract and a raise right away.
I'll be darned.
Okay.
Butch Jones.
I think he was at Cincinnati.
I can Google it if you
Remember a
guys
couple
talk.
years ago how good they were? I mean, I don't know how good they were, but they were ranked.
I
Well,
sense you're right.
He's obviously doing a pretty good job down there, and it's like Hayden Fry said many times, there's no such thing as a bad bowl game. So, it looked like in the end it was going to be one of two outstanding cities, Jacksonville with this bowl or San Francisco. And that's what it basically, I think, came down to.
I was for San Francisco.
San Francisco's obviously a good city. It would have come at I think, a shaky time. I think that game would have been on the 27th. And that's a little,
Yeah.
it's a little hard for people to get out 2 days right after Christmas and
Yeah.
go to a
This
bowl
one's
game.
going to be fantastic.
Well,
Because now it's a
it
weekend.
is, but I think they're still going to have a hard time selling tickets.
Oh, I think so too. I just heard.
Well, they don't have many tickets to sell.
Well,
They
they.
only allowed them 8,000.
Oh, I thought it was 4,000, but
No, 8,000.
8,000 for this
And
one.
they've got 3,000 or 4,000 sold already. Up to date. I called over for tickets today. And,
Tickets are about $125.
well, yeah. I
They have
know.
two levels.
Yeah, I got the second level, 85.
85 plus a $20
Yeah, I know, that's what I don't like.
a $20 bowl ticket surcharge.
Because that same ticket, you can go online and get it from them over there
Yeah.
for $65.
Well, now, to answer your question, yes, Bud, Butch Jones was the head coach at Cincinnati from 2010 to 2012.
Might have been at Miami.
Uh,
Was he for a while?
Yeah, I think
He
he
was
was at
not.
Miami, Ohio.
He was, before Cincinnati, he was at Central Michigan for 3
Well, that's it,
seasons.
Central.
And before that, he was an assistant coach at West Virginia. Before that, the offensive coordinator at Central Michigan. Before that, he was at Ferris State in the late 90s as the offensive coordinator. And before that, he was a graduate assistant at Rutgers. And he played at Ferris State.
Who he's running? I never heard of it.
Well, he's considered a pretty good coach right now. So
Age 46.
we will have to play very well to win the game. If we play well, and I think we will win.
Agreed.
I think we'll play well.
See, an amazing point, and some people make a lot of this. I don't make a whole lot of it, but 10 teams from the Big Ten are
Yeah.
in bowl games. All are the underdogs.
Every
All 10.
single Big Ten team.
Is that right?
Every team. Even Ohio
That's
State.
good. That's
Well,
good.
it's good and it's bad. I mean, first of all, they're playing good teams, and obviously, right now, and some of it's warranted. People aren't thinking very highly of the Big Ten right now.
No.
That's right.
People weren't thinking very highly of Ohio State last Saturday night when they lined up against Wisconsin for the
Oh.
Big Ten Championship game in Indianapolis. And lo and behold, we witnessed a human sacrifice. It was just bloody awful.
Well,
And
after watching that game, they were number one as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I
Pretty
think they'll
old.
be playing Oregon for the national title.
I think you're right, Phil.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think you're
I
right.
do too.
Do you?
I really do. They did this with a third-string quarterback.
Mhm.
Well, he happens to be a 5-star ranked recruit, but they bring this guy off the bench his first start as a Buckeye in the Big Ten Championship game. And what was the final score? 52-0?
59, I think.
59-0.
See, what got me more than that quarterback is their defense against Wisconsin.
Yeah. Now, think back for a second. Wisconsin was the number 1 ranked defense in the nation,
Right, I know.
and they gave up 59 points. that game also served to end any hope that what's Gordon's first name?
No,
Melvin Gordon had of winning the Heisman Trophy. I think that was it for him.
I do too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, look at the Iowa films.
Okay, so Saturday night, I went to the Hawkeye Wrestling meet.
Yeah.
And after the meet, I went up to the Hilltop Tavern to have a beer and a bite to eat. And I walk in, and this old man with a baseball hat on walks up to me and says, "Hey, how you doing? What you think of the wrestling?" And I look, and it's Dan Gable. So we sat down and we watched the second half of that Wisconsin-Ohio State game, and he swears it's fixed. He said, "There's no way." He said, "There's no way this could happen." Third string quarterback.
Talking about a fix.
Yeah. So who knows?
You should have told him some of his matches were fixed, and that's why he won them all,
That's right.
which wasn't certainly.
That's not true.
No.
Well, if anyone listened to that or got the score, they wouldn't believe it.
No.
I mean,
59 to nothing.
Right.
As we were leaving the wrestling meet, you announced the halftime score
Mhm.
of that Big Ten championship game. It was 30-something to nothing. And you could hear the murmur in the crowd going, whoa.
There wasn't a single thing that changed that. It was that kind of game from the beginning.
Yeah.
And kept getting worse.
Yeah.
So,
And you could see how happy.
I wonder what Barry was doing.
Barry Alvarez?
Yes.
he may not have been there because he was with that committee,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
that championship
That's right.
committee
That's
Yeah.
right.
down in Texas.
I
think
wonder
it
what he was doing.
Well, I seen him
Passing
the
out
next
cash
day.
to the Wisconsin coaches for not winning? I don't know.
Next day I seen him and he
Yeah.
he didn't look very good.
Little hangdog look on his face.
Oh, he was Big Ten interviewed him, you know.
Yeah. Well, it didn't work out so well for the Badgers. And you know what's funny, too? So many of these Big Ten championship games have been blowouts.
What?
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. One team comes in with all the momentum and
I can't remember his name. He left Wisconsin. He was head.
Brett
Bielema?
Bielema.
What was he doing? Who were they playing?
They
They
weren't.
beat Nebraska
They
in
won.
that title game that year. They beat them bad by 5, 6, 7 touchdowns.
60-some points he
Yeah.
scored.
And, yeah, they just, I don't know if it's cyclical or what they like to say, but the games have not been very competitive.
No. I don't know if one single Big Ten championship has been competitive. Maybe I'm just forgetful, but
Well, last year wasn't too bad. Michigan State beat Ohio State.
they didn't beat them badly.
They did, I think,
No,
10, 12
no.
points.
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
a real close game, or a good
Okay.
game, is what I thought.
Well, now we've got the Tax Slayer Bowl. What's a Tax Slayer anyway?
Call it a Gator Bowl. We all know what it is.
Well, it's just, like anything else, you pay enough money and your name goes on the bowl, and it's a company that handles taxes.
Are they nationwide, or are they?
I've never heard of them, so I don't, maybe it's just for corporations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but they're wealthy enough where they can have their name on that as the, writing sponsor of that bowl game.
This the second year?
First or second year,
It's a good
Because
question.
Who was there last year, Minnesota?
Don't know. Don't
Big
know.
Ten team was there last year.
yeah, the Gator Bowl's been down the list of,
Right.
bowl games for a while, and in fact, I'm not sure who picked first, them or Nashville this year, but it's still, I mean, any way you look at it, it's still Florida. It's a January bowl game, and, we're playing an SEC team.
Yep.
So it's a good opportunity.
It's a wonderful.
And if it had to be an SEC team, I think Tennessee's the right team.
Tennessee's, we've played them twice before. Both of them have been outstanding games.
Yeah,
Oh, that
I was
first
at that
game.
Peach Bowl.
Yeah, we won one, lost one.
Willie Galt was on the Volunteers
Yeah.
that day.
Well,
Yeah.
the one we lost was when it was so cold in the Gator Bowl.
No,
One we lost was
No.
in New York, or New Jersey, actually,
Right.
East Rutherford.
Oh, in
was it
the,
the Freedom Bowl?
In that
or-
first-
It was actually the kickoff
yeah,
classic.
Kickoff
kickoff,
classic.
okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So this will be the third time the Hawks face Tennessee. First time in a long time. I still call it the Gator Bowl too, Bud. I'm with you.
That game in Jacksonville was cold.
Were you there?
No.
Yes, I was. It was just
Well, yeah.
cold.
It was,
28.
just a couple sidelights. My dad, Andrew Haddy, was born in Minnesota, and he was there at that game, and he said that's the coldest he's ever been in his life.
There are a lot of people say
Well,
that.
it was that damp cold
Yeah.
Yes.
off the St. John River.
That's
of
right.
Jacksonville and the ocean.
Yes.
It just happened to be the coldest night in about, I think, 100 years.
Oh,
And
wow.
pipes actually froze in the
That's
stadium.
Right.
Well, in the hotel.
Well, maybe the hotel too, but.
Along the beach where you go out and sit on a porch and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The guy couldn't fix the drink because he had no water, it froze up.
There were people that took
Tragedy.
their blankets off their hotel room beds
Yeah.
and took it to the game with them.
People didn't dress for that kind of weather when they left Iowa to go to Florida.
That was so cool.
Yeah, I had some family members there that they'll never forget it. And then the Hawks lost, too.
Why'd they lose?
Oh,
It was about 14-6,
Yeah.
something like that.
That wasn't too bad.
It was a good. It was a very good Florida team
Yeah.
and a good Iowa team, and it's just the way, I mean, the conditions were the same for both teams, but it was
Yeah.
miserable playing conditions. It was cool when we got down there, and it steadily got worse as the week progressed, and so.
Isn't that something?
Well, we had to turn around and land in Fort Lauderdale and wait for 2 hours. Because that afternoon, it was going in there Thursday or Friday, whenever we went in there. There was tornadoes all around that area.
Oh, really?
And that's when that cold front come in and already hit up there at Jacksonville. But we stayed in Fort Lauderdale for at least 2 hours.
So you're going to go to the game, the bowl game this
Oh,
year,
yeah.
correct? Phil, how
Now,
about
Kirk
you?
was an assistant coach with us
Oh,
then.
yeah.
Who?
Kirk Ferentz.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
At this point, I'm planning on driving down.
Are you really?
It's about an 18-hour
Yeah.
drive, maybe a little less, 17 maybe, and, we like driving, and I'm not sure who's going to go beside Elaine and I, maybe some grandkids, maybe not. And
Oh.
afterwards, drive back.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it on TV with Earl.
Yeah.
See, what's nice, it's on a weekend.
It's on a Friday afternoon.
I know, but
Yeah.
no one's gonna work on Friday with
Some
me
of
or
us are going to work on Friday.
Well, that's your own individual.
Yeah.
You don't work too hard.
No, that's, if you wanted to get it off.
I wish I could agree with you, Earl. It's the end of the year for me, and that's always a crazy time, so.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. So, since the Nebraska game, a lot of vitriol in the air. A lot of people are upset. We've got a 7-5 team that did not meet expectations. Gary Barta, the athletic director at Iowa, went in front of the newspaper reporters and stated that it was unacceptable. So then we see our opponent in the Gator Bowl. Butch Jones goes 6-6 and gets a raise and a contract extension. So where's reality?
Well, you almost knew he was gonna get it. They wanted him out of there last year.
Kirk, you mean?
No,
Butch.
Nebraska coach.
Oh, well, yeah.
You knew that was coming, just the way he acted 2 or 3 games. One time he grabbed his coach and he got canned for the way he acts.
Yeah, I think
He
you're right.
grabbed his coach.
Yeah, he just,
Who are you talking about?
We're talking about Bo Pelini with Nebraska.
with Nebraska.
Well, I always thought he was the coach.
He is. He got
was,
fired.
He got mad at his coach and grabbed him and pointed at him right in front of the TVs. It was on there.
His assistant coach.
Yeah, his assistant.
I thought it was
Oh.
interesting that, who Nebraska hired. They go to Oregon State for the longest tenured coach in the Pac-12, Mike Riley. And now he's the oldest coach in the Big Ten. He's 2 years
Well,
older
I
than
think
Kirk.
they're going for a little, and I like Bo Pelini, a little common sense, a little conservatism, and a pretty good recruiter. He's done
Oh, yeah.
a pretty decent job with not a lot to work with at Oregon State. And
Is that a hard place to get to?
Oregon State,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world, but you can see it from there.
Is that Corvallis?
Corvallis, or actually, it's a beautiful area.
But they say it's a
I
hard
think-
place
I
to
think it's a
get
much
to.
prettier area than Eugene.
Really?
But, and that's where, if y'all remember, Ralph Miller went way
Yes.
back when. He loved it.
That's right.
He loved it out there.
Didn't he retire there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he certainly did. And it's a beautiful area, but I mean, it's just that it's like certain other areas. It's not exactly, a good harvesting ground for football players.
Yeah.
Most of the players they get are probably from California,
Yeah,
Arizona, in that area.
yeah. Have you been there before?
I have been, yeah, and it's, like I said, it's pretty. They was out there once for football.
When did we
once or
play out
twice.
there?
Yeah, it would have been in the, with, I can't remember if it was Cummings or Hayden, but we played at both, Eugene
Uh-huh.
and Corvallis. And NCAA wrestling championships were out there once at Corvallis,
I'll be there.
Oregon. And I can tell you exactly when it was. It was the year we were in the Final Four in basketball.
So 1980.
Is that right?
That's the year the wrestling was out there.
I'll be darned. And that's where Jim
It's beautiful,
Zaleski
wooded.
ended up, right?
Correct.
Jim
Beautiful
Zaleski's their
wooded
head
country
coach.
with,
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to call them mountains, but certainly tall hills. And it's a beautiful area. But like I said, not well overly populated, in an area where you're going to get a lot of football, 3- and 4- or 5-star recruits.
Well, Phil, why would a well-tenured, well-respected 61-year-old coach leave that to come to Lincoln, Nebraska for a few years?
As Johnny Manziel does. Money. He's probably at, I don't know what he's making at Nebraska. I'm going to guess $3,
Yeah.
$4 million. Out there, maybe $1 million he was
I
making.
think he was making 1.5.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is his, final,
fine, yeah.
final port of call.
But
So
is
he's
it
gonna make
money?
a big hit. If he doesn't make it, he's still probably got a 5-year contract worth it, and he's gonna have plenty, if he doesn't already, to last him the rest of his life. This is his time to make one big splash. He's
Yeah.
not gonna make it right there, right next to the University of Oregon.
No, he
Because
won't.
they've got that Nike money he's fighting
Yep.
against there.
Yes.
And here's his chance. He's got one final go at the Gold Ring, and better place to try it than Nebraska. It's not as though he's starting at a place that's bottom.
No. I can tell you, though, Nebraska fans, first thing they said was who, and the second thing they said was why. Why him? Why not a known entity?
Well, and there's a lot of people that think that way. A lot of people were saying why or who's this guy about Urban Meyer when Florida hired him.
Why you didn't fire him as a football coach? You fired him as an individual.
You talking about Bo Pelini?
Yeah.
I think they fired him for both.
Well, I think for an individual.
I thought he was an
because
excellent coach.
Well, he never
When we
won
beat him
less than
last
9
year-
games.
What?
He never won less than 9 games a season.
That's right.
I mean, that's
Right,
amazing.
So you can't, but last season, they wanted him out of there
Oh,
after
yeah.
we beat him so bad.
In
This
Lincoln.
is the fans, I'm not, and the
Yep.
athletic director stuck up for him, they were still bitter on that.
I hear that that athletic director at Nebraska has hired 4 lawyers. 4 lawyers.
For what?
They defend everything.
Oh,
Well, it could be, but Bo Pelini now is going to make $150,000 a month for 51 months from Nebraska, regardless of where he goes to work in that 4
Yep.
years
And
plus.
he can figure that out.
But is that taken away from him?
No.
Absolutely not.
no way.
That's all in his pocket. So, it's like someone wrote in the Lincoln paper, and they were joking. Is Bo Pelini saying the next day, "Now let me get this right. You're going to pay me $7 million, and I don't ever have to live in Lincoln again? I'll take it." So, it's happening. But I'd like to get back to where you were talking about before, when you talked about Kirk Ferentz.
Yep.
And
He's taking a lot of
I'm here to
grief.
say, and I'll go, I'm like Gary and I'm like Kirk right now. And the point, and I'm not jumping on the company line saying, we didn't do as well as I thought or anybody thought, because I picked us this year at 9-3. We could have very easily been 9-3.
Yeah.
We could have very easily been 6-6 or 5-7 this year. But the point is, I'll go to debate with anybody on this. We're not going to get anybody better than Kirk Ferentz to coach Iowa football.
Good, I go with you.
I agree.
And I
Bob Stoops
strongly-
isn't coming here. Brett
I
Bielema isn't
strongly-
coming here.
He's had some real good years here, where he's won the Big Ten championship.
Yes.
He hasn't left. We've had 2 coaches in over 30 years, almost 35 years. There's like 1 other school or 2 other schools in the country that can say that.
West Virginia and
Maybe that's it now, West Virginia with Beamer.
Right.
Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech, thank you.
With Frank Beamer.
Yep.
And that may be it. So there's something to be said for stability. A coach that does it right, hasn't been in trouble. Okay, maybe we're not winning, but, you got to remember, this isn't, remember what we're recruiting from. We're recruiting from Iowa. We're not in Ohio and Michigan where there's that recruiting base of athletes that seems to be never ending.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania or Florida. He's done more with the talent he has, I think, than any coach in the country. He and Hayden both did.
Yeah.
And let's look at the other things. You talk about Bo Pelini. Let's look at what he and Mary do for university hospitals. It's not just coaching, it's what kind of person he has representing the university, and at the same time, winning.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
And if he'd been 2-10 this year, I'd say the same thing about Kirk Ferentz.
Mhm.
I hope he's Iowa's coach for the next 10 years, although he may want to retire before then, but.
I think he will. He's 59 now. He's got a contract through the 2019 season. And pretty soon, you're going to have to start talking about extensions for Kirk Ferentz, extending his contract, because head coaches need 4 or 5 years out on contracts, or else the opponents are going to recruit against that and say he's not going to be there.
I'll leave that up to them. They know what they're doing most of the
But, the thing about Kirk Ferentz, this year, people looked at the schedule and said, well, it's relatively, it's not easy, but easier than it has been without Ohio State.
Mm.
And they
Michigan,
thought
Michigan
Michigan,
State.
but Michigan, we would have loved to have played Michigan 4 or 5 times. But the teams, Michigan State wasn't on it, and some of the teams that were right there near the top, traditionally, or for some reason that's totally unexplainable, we don't play well when we have the easy schedule. I remember, I think it was 2008 or something, many people considered in 4, we had maybe the strongest schedule in the Big Ten, or the hardest, and we do our best. So
I think it's.
don't give up on this group, I'm telling you.
They're going to have to recruit better. We don't have the talent, the quantity of talent that we've had before. And I think that's pretty evident, and
We're starting to do better in recruiting in Ohio, for example.
Well, I think you can always say that about us. We can do better recruiting. The defense took a little bit of a hit this year, but you got to remember last year we had 3 NFL linebackers.
That's right.
And people took advantage of that all year. And
running
people talk
game-
about our offense. Well, our offense, it wasn't great, but you know what?
Ranked
The
fourth.
defense in that Wisconsin game gave up
Right.
some big 3rd down plays, or we win that game.
Yeah.
That game and the Nebraska game was 2 of the finest games on TV all year long.
They're great games if you didn't
Yes.
care who won.
I'm going to disagree, Bud.
I-
That Nebraska game was not a great or well-played game.
Well, it was. It went overtime.
It was an
That's
entertaining
because
and exciting
That
game.
is because you're a fan. Now, if we would inverse would have won that, you wouldn't be talking that way.
I think I would, because there
Yeah.
were so many. Iowa had 4 turnovers in the
So
first
did
half.
Nebraska had a
No.
lot.
They didn't have 4 turnovers.
Well, then we really did good if we had 4 turnovers.
Well, I think, considering the 4 turnovers, yeah, but I don't think it was a well-played game
We let it
on
happen.
either
We-
team's part.
And we should have been down probably
Yeah.
by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were amazed that we were ahead at halftime because we turned the ball over 4 times. I'm sorry, that's not a well-played
But
game.
here's a 9-3 team, and we play them in overtime. And Nebraska at the time was what, 9-2 or 10-2 or
It
what?
should have never gone into overtime.
Oh, it
We
did.
fought back, took the lead after giving up a 21-point lead in the second half, and we kicked the ball to them with a minute to go, and they scored and tied the game. And that's unacceptable. The big plays, the 3rd and longs, that was the Achilles heel all year. And it's the 3rd and long is becoming, it's like a permanent fixture. It's like a permanent growth on our Achilles heel.
As,
And I think that gets back to talent.
Is his job in jeopardy?
No,
Okay.
but I think if he goes,
Kirk, you're
yeah,
talking?
yeah.
I think absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, if you string together a couple of 2 and 10 years, anybody's job's going to be in jeopardy.
What if he goes 5-7 next year, or 4-8? I mean, the schedule is virtually the
I
same.
don't even know why you look at it that way. There's no way he's gonna go 3-7.
Well, anything's possible, but
Well,
I,
Look at the
know.
schedule next year,
But-
at Nebraska, at Wisconsin. We finally get Minnesota at home.
At Nebraska, last year we beat Nebraska at
Yeah.
Nebraska.
well, which goes back to what I said. I think when things are harder
Right.
or tougher,
That's a good
things,
point.
we're
They
going to
won
have
those
a,
last 2 games last year, and
Yeah.
nobody thought they'd win either one of them.
I still think we'll be okay next year, but okay, let's throw out what you said, if he's 5-7. No, I do not think his job is in danger. There'll certainly be more people grumbling, but I think how do I say it, he's got enough chips in the game
Yeah.
at Iowa that he's got, and he deserves a little more leeway.
Now let's
Now,
go to.
now
I don't-
remember,
I don't
let's go
disagree
back
with
to,
you.
let's go back to Purdue a little bit. They didn't like Joe Tiller and what he was doing, and all he was doing was putting him in a bowl every year.
Yeah.
And they've
And-
stunk ever since he's left.
They've
Yes.
done nothing.
and,
Nothing.
and that's another thing I want to go to is the bowls. How many teams would like to say we're going to hire a coach that's going to get us to 9 out of 12 bowl games?
It's more than that.
Well, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's a big number. And win some of the big ones, the Orange Bowl.
Is it 12 out of 16 years that we've been to a bowl game?
All
with-
right,
with
it's
Kirk?
about that.
Something like
He
that,
didn't go his first 2 years.
Right.
And I think there's been 2, that's probably right, 12 out of 16.
The Western Michigan final game season, we didn't go.
Right.
It's either 12 out of 16 or 13
But
out
then
of 16.
compare the bowls. Every one of our bowls have been fantastic bowls.
Yeah, and that's a tribute to the fans.
Well,
We brought up the fans and we brought up past success. I think we'll all agree that the rumblings are much stronger this year than they've ever been. We saw the drop in ticket sales, and I'm not disagreeing with anybody here. I'm a
Especially
big fan
the
of Kirk.
students.
that's the students.
It's not the students.
Every Big Ten team had a drop in tickets.
I agree. And not just Big Ten. It's going
Well,
on
I
across
mean,
the
We're
country.
in the Big Ten.
So, my point is,
I think
next
Michigan
year,
is a classic example.
oh, yeah,
What is?
Michigan,
Michigan.
with their ticket situation. I mean, they lost an athletic director over the deal.
They
And
did.
now they lost a coach. It's going to be interesting to see who is Michigan's next coach
Yeah.
and athletic director.
The difference is now, Michigan, because of their recruiting base right there, can get it back in 1 to 2 years.
Yep.
If all of a sudden we slip on the ice and fall down, you see you know what happens.
It's ugly.
It happened to us in basketball when Tom Davis left, and we're just getting back now. It happened when Evie or Ray Nagel left. It took us 20 years, and after all that, after we won in the late, early 60s, we were still strong, but it's that old line, and you hate to bring it up all the time. Be careful what you wish for, because it may not be. It's happened in Indiana. They got rid of Bill Mallory. They got rid of Tiller at Purdue. These are people that were proven coaches, but they got greedy. Okay, now here at Iowa, a couple of Big Ten titles. Well, obviously, the bar has been raised. So maybe we get a little too greedy, but at the same time, that's good that our expectations are high.
I agree there.
You know, it's good. You know, we expect to win, but at the same time, let's not, put a guy on a cross and hang him, because he has one,
That's what's being done.
How do you
Oh, exactly.
hang a guy on a
You know,
cross?
I sat down at a table at George's Tavern the other night, and they said, this is reserved for the Fire Kirk Ferentz group only. I said, well, I guess I'm not going to sit
Probably
here.
haven't been to the ballgame anyway.
And there are people that are unabashedly against Kirk Ferentz staying here another day. There is a tremendous amount of disenchantment, disenfranchisement. They feel that, and here are the negatives that you hear.
How do you describe this individuals against Kirk?
I think they're frustrated, they expect more, but more importantly, I think they're bored with what they see on the field. Now, let's
Do they go to
admit,
games?
yeah, for the most part, I'd say yeah. But let's admit one thing. The style of play the last few years has been very conservative, in fact, boring at times.
Yeah.
There's no two other ways around it. When we're running a pro-style offense, and that's becoming a bit of a dinosaur in the college football world. We're raising and training athletes to become NFL players, and we've been very successful. Just the other night, Monday Night Football, we watched Brian Balaga for the Green Bay Packers and Micah Hyde. And there's two great examples of recent
Daniels.
Hawkeyes. And Daniels, too, yeah. That's right.
Well, getting rid of the coach ain't gonna give her the answers to that.
Well,
What'd you say, Bud? Speak up.
Giving those
Getting.
kinds of things, no reason to get rid of the head coach. Now, maybe he has to clean out some of these people.
And he did.
But I actually, I get a little irritated. I think the conversation about getting rid of Kirk Ferentz is ridiculous.
Right.
Because if things really go bad, if you become a Purdue, Indiana, Illinois now, they're ecstatic.
Oh, my gosh.
They're 6-6.
They're in a bowl game.
They're ecstatic, but the guy's 7-5 and had a bad year. Let's follow the bouncing ball. This isn't the end of the world.
A lot of bad losses in there. I'm just being the
There's some
counterpoint
bad.
here.
There is some bad losses. There's a couple good wins, and in fact, I said, here the
I
good
think
news
the
is we
bad-
could have been easily this year. We could have been 9-3.
Oh, yeah.
The bad news is we could have been 5-7.
And we were, they won 2 games, and that's Iowa State.
Just think, if we hadn't have changed quarterbacks at the Pitt game at halftime, and we didn't have that miraculous comeback against Ball State, we were 5-7.
The only terrible loss we've had, and it's all jokes aside, it was terrible, is Iowa State.
That's right.
That's a terrible loss.
Yes.
That's a
I
team that
agree.
was.
They won 2
And I like
games.
Paul Rhodes, but that's a bad team.
Yeah.
That's a bad team. They beat Toledo, and they beat Iowa, and as Hayden used to say, we didn't fire a shot that day.
And the Hawks looked
No reason to lose to that team.
terrible in that game. They looked bad in the first 3 games of the year. In fact, through the first half of the Pittsburgh game, this Hawkeye football team looked lost.
Mm-hmm.
And what's got fans so upset, not just the
Certain
boring
fans,
style,
Make sure
Wait,
you,
just let me talk.
not just the boring style of offense, but the quarterback situation. We've got a quarterback who does not look confident when he's in there. I don't think anybody can disagree with me. The Wisconsin game and the Nebraska game, he looked very uncomfortable. Now, Wisconsin and Nebraska, he mounted comebacks. He did great things, but he never looks comfortable. And you get the sense, and we don't know because we're not there at practice or on the field in the games, but you get the sense that his teammates don't necessarily have the confidence in Jake Rudock. And, you know, the backup quarterback's always the best quarterback anywhere ever, but a lot of people are upset because C.J. Beathard never seemed to get that second chance. He got the chance at Pittsburgh and proved himself. And he came in, what game did he come in? Was it Maryland? Whenever he came in, he did good things. We just didn't see enough of him. And we see a team like Wisconsin, who wins our division with two quarterbacks. One,
I think he came in the Illinois game.
did he? That's right, he did. Boy, he threw a beautiful pass for a touchdown, a pro-style touchdown pass in that Illinois game. Because Rudock got hurt in that game, hurt his hip there on a touchdown he scored. And Beathard came in, just like you expect a backup quarterback to do, and didn't miss a beat. Personally, I would like to have seen him get more opportunities during the season, especially, I mean, announcers, TV announcers were flabbergasted that he didn't get the call at the second half of the Wisconsin game. We're not the only ones. It's not just the biased fans.
Well,
It's
there's
the casual
nothing that's going to
observers.
happen to Kirk Ferentz. That
I
I
agree.
guarantee you. The interesting part will be to see if he decides, you know, through the recruiting season and that, to play with the pat hand,
Mhm.
or if he decides in his own right to make some changes. And he's, you know, I think made the right choices most of the time, you know, here at Iowa. So whether he makes some changes or not, if he thinks he needs to, he'll make them. If he doesn't,
You think Greg
You know-
Davis will be back,
I
offensive coordinator?
you know, he's a guy, I don't know what to say on that. He's a guy I really like as a
Mhm.
person. You know, I really like Greg, and if, you know, I mean, I don't know the inner workings there of what, who is actually, you know, if he's calling the plays, actually the buck stops there, but,
Yep.
you know, it'll be interesting to see what Kirk does on that.
You know,
Greg might retire.
Greg is old enough, you know, how many people out there for the last 4 or 5 years said, I don't care what we do with Iowa football, but we've got to get rid of Ken O'Keefe. Okay? Be careful what you wish
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
right there, because you don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not saying Greg is doing a poor job, because he's doing an outstanding job, but Ken O'Keefe also did an outstanding job here, although a lot of people didn't think so.
I think he was wonderful.
And Greg Davis has come in and adjusted and adapted. He has implemented the hurry-up offense, which we didn't have when Ken O'Keefe was here. He's made some other changes offensively that are part of the new college football offensive game. We just, you know, let's face it, we got a lot of fans who are unhappy with the
How
offensive
would you like to be
runs.
Notre Dame?
That's a mystery. That's a real mystery.
That's supposed to be a top 10 team this year, and it happens everywhere. And what did they end up?
I was just going to ask.
7-5.
Were they 7-5 or 6-6? I don't know, somewhere
I thought
in
they
there.
were 6-6. Maybe
But
not.
are they even in a bowl game?
Yeah,
They are. Where, bud?
I just looked at that yesterday. It's at one of those dates that I don't think.
Yeah, well, regardless of what it is, there's a team that thought they were going to be in the mix for the Final Four.
That's right.
They were 5 at one time.
During this season.
Oh, everything began to unravel when they went to Florida State back in, whatever it was, mid-October. And they had a big lead on Florida State, and lo and behold, Florida State does what they do every game. They get behind, they come back and win. And that was the beginning of the downfall for Notre Dame.
Yeah, things went south after that.
Gosh, they went to, where'd they go, Arizona or Arizona State? And just got slaughtered
I
after
think
that.
it was ASU.
Yeah. Oof. No, I wouldn't want to be Notre Dame.
Well, you know, you can't beat a dead horse, but I think Kirk's, he'll do the right thing, and don't be shocked if, you know, out of the ashes come, whatever that term is,
The Phoenix.
next year, because I fully expect Iowa to have a very, very good team next
What,
year. We're going to have a more experienced quarterback.
Yep.
Who do we open with?
Well, I don't even know who we open with next year,
Don't know.
but it's,
I thought you and I.
I'll tell you in a second here.
I think we do play you.
Did we, oh,
I don't think
I
so.
don't think we play UNI 2 years in a row.
Oh, we play them this year?
We played them this year, opening day.
Next year, we've got Illinois State
Oh, yeah.
here,
That's
then
right.
we've got at Iowa State, and then at home Pittsburgh and North Texas.
When do
Dan
we play
McCarney.
Notre Dame? I mean, when do we play Iowa State?
Second game of the year.
At Iowa State.
Okay.
Yeah. So Pitt here after that, and then North Texas with Dan McCarney.
See, and once again, the people that are doing the prognosticating will look at that and say, well, you should be 4-0.
Mhm.
Right.
And there's always
That's
one
right.
game out of the non-conference schedule that you, and for us this year, it was Iowa State.
Well, who did Ohio State get beat the first game?
They got beat by Virginia Tech.
Yeah, right.
Virginia Tech handled them the whole game at Ohio State. And I thought this is going to be a down year for Ohio State. And they haven't lost since. They haven't looked back
I mean,
since.
people are going to look at the schedule next year, and they're going to say, we ought to win 8 of our first 9.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
our
the one they're
schedule?
going to say we ought to lose is at Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Because after that Wisconsin game, we have Illinois, Northwestern,
Here.
and Maryland.
Northwestern, where is that game? There.
That's there,
Maryland's here.
and then at Indiana.
Mhm.
Those are
Okay.
easy teams.
Well, then Minnesota in Iowa City,
Yeah.
and Purdue in Iowa City,
Win.
and then you're at Nebraska. I hate to say it, that's another outstanding schedule.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Outstanding or easy schedule?
Well, I didn't say, I'm never going to say easy,
No,
but
there's no easy.
but if a coach had to say that's a decent schedule, that's a decent schedule.
Yes,
bad.
that's it.
Rumors about Michigan. I'm going to switch channels here for a little bit. The athletic director, the longtime athletic director at Oklahoma, has been rumored to be the new athletic director at Michigan. And it's no secret that he and Bob Stoops, the longtime head coach at OU, are good friends. They're really close, and the rumor and the concern among Hawkeye fans is that Bob Stoops is going to be the next Wolverine coach. What do you think?
I guess I don't, it doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense, but that wouldn't, I know Oklahoma fans are
They wear on
maybe
you.
acting in some cases just the way some Iowa fans are acting right
Yep.
now.
Right.
Yep.
And they're a little disenchanted, so
They're 7-5, right?
I think so, something
Yeah,
like that.
I think they are.
Yeah. And so if that's the case and they can get somebody like him, it would surprise me, but it wouldn't shock me.
Did you see how OU
I mean,
lost?
it's any way you look at it, it's still, I don't care what they have done the last 3 or 4 years, it's one of the premier jobs in
Oh.
college coaching.
And
Because
that-
I'll say it again, they can turn that thing around
Michigan.
in a year.
Mhm.
Yep. Yep. Well, it'll be interesting to see who they name as athletic director, because his first job will be to hire a football coach. And that's going to happen sooner
Who-
than later.
Who's this?
Michigan.
Oh.
They, I don't know if I don't know if their athletic director resigned. He certainly, if he did, it was under pressure. This whole student ticket thing was a mess. And so,
He went out before the coach went out.
oh yeah, he was out
It'd be interesting
mid-season.
what Bump would say.
Yeah. Give him a phone call.
I ate with him last night, but
Bump is usually one not to criticize any ADs
No.
anywhere, but
that's right.
it'll
That's
be
right.
interesting to see what they do, and Rich Rodriguez, maybe it's not the coach.
Look
You know,
what he's done since he left.
Yeah, maybe it's the system a little bit, and if they'd have given him one more year, there's an awful lot of people saying he would have, because Hoke's first year was 11-2, and that was with Rodriguez's players.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Is Rich Rod at Arizona?
yes.
Yeah. And they had a heck of a season. Some big wins. He's doing big things out
Yeah,
there. I think
yeah.
they're top 10 ranked, aren't they?
Yeah.
Missouri sure got walloped the other night.
Yeah.
Well, they played a pretty good team.
They played them good, close for a half. But the bottom line is, their first 2 years in the SEC, and they played for the title game each year.
Yeah.
It's pretty commendable, especially for a team that lost at home this year to Indiana.
Yeah.
And who else did they lose to at home? Somebody regrettable.
It might have been West Virginia, I can't remember.
It was another bad team. Geez, I can't remember who. It wasn't West. But look, they turned it around. They turned it around. I think Missouri's very well coached.
Who do they have in the bowl? They have a Big Ten team in the bowl.
Missouri does?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it's a pretty good team. I
You know,
think.
next week we're going to have to do our bowl picks.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Because I don't think we're going to have a show December 24th or 31st. We could, but I don't think anybody's going to be watching on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
later. But next week we got to do our bowl picks because they're coming up quick.
that game will be here real soon.
Yeah, it will be. We've got some other Hawkeye sports to talk about. Men's basketball team. Wow, what a stunner at North Carolina last week. No, but I don't think anybody, myself included, gave them much of a chance to go to Chapel Hill and pull out a win. But by golly, they did. And ironically, it was against Marcus Page, who grew up in Marion, Iowa, went to Linn-Mar, and shunned not only the Hawkeyes but everybody else for Roy Williams and the Tar Heels. And Marcus Page did not have a very good game. And I'm not convinced how good the Tar Heels are yet, but I'll take that win. That was very exciting, and I think it was really needed
Did
because
they play Indiana last night?
no,
North Carolina. Who did Indiana play?
I saw it. It was it Syracuse? No.
Well, anyway, they're going to be. They had a bad night, and
Yeah.
you can go back to how about last weekend? The New Jersey Institute of Technology
Yeah.
beat Michigan,
At Michigan.
and I don't know how they came out, but they were losing last night again
Michigan was?
to Eastern Michigan.
Holy moly.
I don't know how that came out, but
Wow. Wow.
Maybe they ought to hire a basketball and football coach at the same
well, they got a
time.
good coach there, in John
Illinois?
Beeline.
Oh, yeah, he's
Michigan.
very good. Illinois got beat last night by Villanova, 7th-ranked Villanova, the same Villanova team that beat Iowa last year in that Thanksgiving tournament.
Yep.
Was it double overtime game? Yeah. The Hawkeye men really, didn't shoot well again at North Carolina, but by golly, their defense stifled the Tar Heels. We saw that on display again last night when Alcorn State came to town. Not many people at the game, but the Hawks, we're seeing people step up. I think last night Woodbury had maybe his worst game of the year, and that was followed by maybe two of his best games of the year at North Carolina. And who'd they play? Who was the winless team they played this weekend?
Not Hampton, but
No. University of Maryland at Baltimore County.
UMBC.
Yes. I thought Woody looked really strong. I'd really like to see him get the ball in the paint from the guards more often, and like to see him go try to score up closer to the basket. But what we're seeing Woody do, what we saw him do at North Carolina and against UMBC, is square up 10, 15 feet out and shoot and score. Last night he tried it and he didn't score. He just couldn't hit anything. And I'm concerned about Josh Oglesby, who just hasn't caught fire yet this year.
Well, right now, we're just a poor shooting team,
Boy, we are.
period. If the defense can hold the other team and they don't shoot well, we get a chance. But once we start the Big Ten, if we don't start to shoot better,
We'll get our head handed to
yeah,
us.
it'll be a very compromising situation.
Yeah. Some bright spots. Clemens has shown moments of brilliance. Aaron
Nobody
White.
has consistently shot the ball well.
Nobody. Free throws, good. Mike Cassell had a great game. I think it was his best game as a Hawkeye at North Carolina. He scored the first 5 points of the game, and then he hit that old-fashioned three-point play to end the game, which really ended it for North Carolina. So how many times have we seen him drive into the paint late, try to put one up and get it swatted out? That didn't happen. When I saw him doing that, I thought, oh no, oh no, oh no. Yes. He made it, and he got fouled, and he made the free throw, which he's really struggled with.
He's a good player.
We need him to be a good player. We need Utah to do what he did last night. Utah, he hit his first, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 shots. We need him to do that. We need that outside shooter.
It's 6 out of 7 last night?
I think it might have been.
Well,
6 out of 9 at least,
okay.
yeah.
This can be, at the end of the day, a very good team
Yeah.
if they can start shooting. If they stay cold, it's not going to happen.
Well, they got Iowa State coming to town. I don't know what Iowa State's ranked right now, but
They're a
they're
good team. I think
tough.
they're like 14th.
They're good.
tough. Oh, yes.
They are loaded. And
Brett Hoiberg does an outstanding job, and obviously, we can beat them in our place, but if we have another cold shooting night,
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen, because they got some shooters that can shoot it from downtown.
Yeah, and he's gone, Fred Hoiberg has gone the junior college route to get his players, to fill his roster. And it's worked.
Well, we got that guy from Des Moines. the
Peter
guard.
Jock,
Yeah. He played pretty good last night.
he played better. He made his first shot and then missed the rest. Dominic Ewell looked good.
Yeah.
True freshman Dominic
Yeah.
Ewell, I thought had some real sharp moments last night. They're still trying to determine whether Brady Ellingson, another freshman, is going to redshirt or not. He played last night briefly at the end. He looked okay. You know who got in last night was OK Uka from
Yeah.
West High. The walk-on senior. He's a senior already, which kind of surprised me. But so Friday night, 7 o'clock, Iowa versus Iowa State on the Big Ten Network. It's a big game. It's a
And the
big game.
night before, Iowa women play.
Yeah.
Same
Iowa State
time.
also on the Big Ten Network.
This is Beat State Week, and I think there's swimming going on with Iowa State Wednesday, either tonight or tomorrow night, because I saw the Brands brothers are going to swim to promote the swimming meet. So it's Beat State Week. Both games are at 7 o'clock. Both games are on the Big Ten Network. The women had a big win Sunday against Colorado here at home. This is a Colorado team that whooped them good out there in Boulder last year. Colorado was not ranked, but Iowa needed this win after coming off a really humiliating loss at Louisville, another 30-point loss to Louisville.
Colorado didn't look a good basketball team.
I think Iowa had a lot to do with that. It was very clear. You could tell that the Iowa women had been coached up for that game to do not let up. And this is, you've got to remember one thing, too. Sam Logic is injured. She got hurt. Oh, I can't remember if she got hurt at Louisville. Yeah, she got hurt at Louisville.
Eye?
Well, it's her knee.
Okay.
Alexa Kostanek has got the big stitches in her eye and big black eye.
Yeah.
But Samantha Logic tweaked an MCL ligament, medial collateral ligament in her, I forget which knee. But she's wearing a brace, and it limits her. And she wasn't her normal self against Colorado on Sunday. But they won anyway, and they've got enough tools on that team to beat an always good Iowa State team. Bill Finley's not going to come in to Carver Hawkeye and just roll over. So I expect a good game both nights, Thursday and Friday. The Hawkeye Wrestlers beat Iowa State and Michigan State, shut out Michigan State last week. That was really something to behold.
Second year in a row.
Yeah.
Right.
Now they've got a couple weeks off now until the Midlands in Evanston on the 29th and 30th. We are out of time. I can't believe it. We've already run out of time. Phil Haddy, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
I hope you'll come back more and more. Would love to have you. And again, want to congratulate your wife, Elaine, and want to thank everybody else, including John Murphy, for filling in last week. And remember this, either you're a Hawk or you're not. Go Hawks, whip the Cyclones every single time.